stuff that dreams are made of.
Is it at the Paramount or New Parish?
The Fox, actually.
Yeah, see? There you go.
See? I even have my my fake beard on.
I hate you. Well, I'm glad you're supporting the local economy. This is for the infrastructure.
Definitely.
And it is good to see that we're at a place in time where people will show up for a venue and for local artists in the same way they would go crazy for out-of-towners. It's about time. It's only took 30 years. That is a great thing. Other highlights that are looking exciting for us. If you are curious why you're going to hear some new voices, I'd like to introduce some new families in the building. When we started this whole thing, the idea was to bring together the same energy you have in between rounds in a dojo or a temple or a jiu-jitsu school, and the way that you kind of trade humor to keep each other from heartbreakingly realize you're just not doing what you want to do. And so that started us cracking jokes, and that's what Cage Against the Machine was, and we evolved it into this Round Zero episode. So I thought it would be a good idea to bring somebody who brings that same spirit on, and we're going to have a special guest tonight by the name of Fred Yu.
Master Fred Yu.
I don't know if he wants us to call him.
I don't know about Master, but yeah.
So to give a little bit of background, since it's my job to make people feel good about themselves, Fred Yu is not only one of my trading partners over at Oakland San Shou EBM, he also teaches jiu-jitsu over at SBG. Mm-hmm. He is it fair to say, a former MMA fighter, amateur MMA fighter?
Yeah.
He helped me with my bucket list. I got to train for an MMA fight with Fred, and that was fun. He's also trained in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
What other Oakland native.
Oakland native, born and raised.
Marvel fan.
Yeah.
When he's not here doing podcasts with us, he is saving New York from flying vultures by shooting webs out of his hand. What else do we want to tell the people?
I mean, that's about it. I mean, that's a jiu-jitsu brown belt. Just formally. I just got it a month ago. Brown belt. Yeah.
That was a cool post. I was
Boy,
like,
that is high.
Yeah.
That's way up there.
My coach's first brown belt, so that was
wow.
Yeah, that was special for me. Yeah.
Wow.
There's tissue in my knee popping.
Wow.
So he's a fan of the show, and he always asks me, he was like, hey, next time you guys tape, why don't I come by? I was like, no, why don't you come and be on the show with us? So we're hoping we'll stay. Also, because we are celebrating the beauty of the Bay Area and the things that we've seen, our diversity, I feel like we get to check one more box. We have our Latino token. We have our African token. We have our African American. And now we have our Asian American. If we keep this up, we might actually get a Native American on the show.
Maybe.
So getting into things, I'm going to avoid the drama of the last month and all those things. We are here. If you are not aware, we are the premier MMA podcast brand known as Cage Against the Machine. This is a show called Round Zero where we make predictions. We will be talking about UFC 228, which is Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till.
Big shout out for actually calling him Tyron, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Most people always say Tyrone, and I'm looking at them like,
where's the
what
E?
the heck
Where's
are
the
you
E?
talking about?
But truthfully, what they really want to say is Jamal, but I'm just not even going to touch that.
Oh, boy, let's not go there.
You know, so I can spell. I'm pretty good with that. Those of you who've been following us, Cage Cousins, all 10,000 of you, we kind of changed our format. We're no longer really going to do the full card. We only try to focus on just the main card. But since we have everybody here, I want to kind of look at some of the earlier fights. Brane, what is one of the fights on the prelims that excites you that people should look for?
I'm looking at this Bird and Stewart.
Yeah.
That looks like a good one.
Okay.
And I'm interested in that one. It looks like Stewart has lost by submission. I think he got a win in his last fight, but before that he had a couple submission losses. And Bird seems to be half of his career wins are by submission. So
I'm glad you brought that up because it's really ironic that Darren Stewart is called the dentist because he's going to need one after this fight is over.
Yeah,
And Kid Dynamite, huh?
Man.
what you need to understand about Chris Bird is Chris Bird brings the pain with
You mean
both
Charles?
hands. He brings the pain. And he actually, if I remember correctly, he has won. And this is the funny part. I believe that Chris Bird won his last 3 fights all by submission.
Yeah, he's savage.
Yeah.
Dude is brutal, man.
Yeah, and like finishes in the last 4 or something like that. And it's funny that you call him Chris and his name is Charles because
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, Charles is one of my middle names. Charles is one of my middle names, so you know it goes in there. So
Well, hey, even the doctor is human. What can I say?
and if they don't know, my government name is Chris, but that's why I go by Brane.
Yeah, and Bird also has an incredible tattoo. Dr.
happened to
J.K.
that boy?
Akin. Oh, wow. Speaking of annihilations, Dr. J.K. Akins, so good to see you again. What is one fight on the prelims or the card that people may not be looking for that you're excited about?
I would say probably Nico Price
I knew-
in a
yes.
duel and Abdul
Dude.
Rasak Al Hassan.
My dude.
Only because
Dude.
only because neither of these fighters has faced competition to this level.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that in itself makes it intriguing all by itself.
Will the freedom train that is Al Hassan be stopped by Nico Price?
No.
Good to hear.
Abdul's like a dynamite. He's like a ball of dynamite.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
you watch him fight. It's just a solid like.
But Nico Price is so slick on the ground.
Yes.
Sometimes he catches people slipping, which is why people call him the hybrid.
Yeah.
But normally I do side with the technical guy.
Yeah.
Normally I really do because I that's how I fight. Like more technical. I don't like the brawler type. Like blast through somebody. But Abdul's power is just too much, man. I mean, it looks like it's too much. And for Nico, if you watch Nico fight, he's a little sloppy. There's some holes.
Can be.
Yeah, it can be a little bit sloppy
Especially
in
when he
transition.
gets tired.
Yeah, especially when he gets tired. But he's been through some wars. I wouldn't doubt him. But then Abdul, dude, his power is dynamite, man.
That it is.
Yeah.
And Price likes to derail the hype trains. You think of Brandon Thatch and Randy
Yes.
Brown, and you know he likes to, you know, these guys that got their hype going.
Wait,
and
pause.
They're on a good
Brandon
one.
Thatch was a hype train?
He was for a second.
He's been on a losing train.
So sad.
Like,
But you know, I
6
think you
fights.
also bring up something about Nico Price is that his bookings have targeted individuals who are high level strikers that have huge holes in their ground game. Al Hassan's judo, as he showed, is no joke. But my prediction will be this fight ends with a spinning technique so nasty they'll have to rename him Nkrumah.
Now we throwing spinning ish. I was literally gonna pick this fight,
Only-
JK. I'm glad
only
you
this guy
did.
got
I just
it.
couldn't
Thank you.
pronounce the guy's name.
Oh. Well, you know, that's what I'm here for.
Right.
Mr. Yu.
That was the one I was really excited
the
for on the
one-
card. But I mean, I'm interested on the new lines versus the young lines there. I mean, Jim Miller, Diego Sanchez, those. I mean, I picked
both,
the
both
former.
are gonna get taken out by a guy named White.
Yeah, I know.
See,
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly.
Wow. I mean, I guess that's interesting that you say that because Alex White, I don't like at all. Like at all. Like not even there is literally nothing about Alex White's game that translates to a win for him against Jim Miller for me.
Yeah, well, for
got
me,
the
it's
power.
more about Jim Miller. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was more about not so much about Alex White.
And that makes total sense because Diego Sanchez is finished.
Yeah,
And
it's
you
him
know,
too, yeah,
and you know, I
unfortunately.
there's a part of me that's always siding against the old dog. I always love the old veteran. I always
Right.
want them to win because it's part of my narrative. Watching MMA, the facts never add up for me. It's always the old guy gets demolished.
Yeah.
And
yep.
you know, time grinds down mountains to sand. And it's only a matter of time for Jim Miller, who I've always appreciated. I liked his I've always liked his style.
Yeah.
I've always liked what he represented, but I can't see any reason for for UFC booking not to feed Alex White with this. So
See, and that's the thing is that you know me.
Yeah.
Whenever a guy is near the end of his rope, I'm always gonna side with the young lion. Of
course.
But
Yeah.
but Alex White, I look at his game, and there is literally nothing that I see that I like at all.
What I do want
I
to
just
shift
think he
gears.
has enough knockout power to catch him, but I do. It's crazy because for Diego, this is his 28th UFC fight. For Jim Miller, 30th UFC fight. These guys got a lot of miles on their body.
Yeah, I know that and I see it, but watching Alex White, and I've watched his last 5 fights, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, I don't think he can beat Jim Miller. I just don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it.
And Jim needs to win. So if he does come out on top, do you think he should retire? Because
Absolutely.
4-fight losing streak, and
Absolutely.
then you get one, you're like, yeah, this is
Absolutely, he should retire.
Or ONE FC.
They're both on losing streaks,
ONE
by the
FC,
way.
man.
Yes, they are.
Look
So
what it's done
they're
to so
fighting
many
for
people.
their spot on
Yeah,
the UFC.
Diego's only lost 2 in a row, but they were both by
Well,
first round
Diego's a whole
knockout.
other combo. So with Diego versus White, it's really a battle of the terrible new member of Team Arrow versus the terrible new member of the Arrow villains. That's literally if you look at them.
See, when I look at Diego Sanchez, I think of one thing: the old school Hammer song "Ring 'Em," because he consistently gets his bell rung. I mean, it's to a point where it's done now. It's just ring 'em and it's over.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I mean, he's from that time of just keep moving forward, just keep walking forward, and people have loved that style, but I don't think it aged well.
Just keep swinging.
Matter of fact,
just
that
keep
Ring 'Em
swinging,
should be his
just keep
walkout song.
swinging. JK is too legit to quit.
Hey.
The fight that I'm really actually excited about in the beginning is going to be Aldana.
Aldana and Pudilova.
Yeah, I don't know if I can say that second word the way you said it.
Why
I don't know if it's pause-worthy,
Sarate.
but I also feel like I'm offending people.
Hey,
It's like,
she's Czech. That's her name. Can we just move on?
And he did say check, not chick.
right. I was about to say, is it Puditang or is it Pudilova? Okay.
Sarate.
But Aldana's hands. So all of a sudden, the missus has caught the martial arts
got the bug?
She's got the bug. So she's starting to hit pads, starting
Big
to learn.
shout out to the missus.
And so I show her. She's like, well, can you show me, like when we do boxing techniques, she's like, can you show me a good woman boxer or whatever? And the other day she walks in and she shows me the Instagram of Aldana. She's like, oh my God, how do you make the pads make that sound? I was like, that's called the power hand. That's called throwing from the core. So I'm really impressed to see what she can do against somebody who's going to take her to that level.
They're both scrappy.
They are scrappy.
Yeah, they're
The
both
thing
really
with
scrappy.
Pudilova
These
is
are-
Pudilova's gas tank is endless.
And Eastern
Yeah.
Europeans just seem to understand kickboxing. It just
If-
seems to be in the blood.
If this fight gets anywhere beyond the middle of the second round, Aldana's chances decrease dramatically. Because Pudilova, by the time third round starts, that's when she starts kicking up the pace. And she has made fighters wilt with that pressure.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like the ethnic ill version of Friends.
Okay. Phoebe's Aldana, and then
Phoebe versus
and then Phoebe's Pudilova too. They're
yeah,
both-
you know what I mean? Like they have just the savage fight in the coffee shop.
I've never seen
Over a
Friends,
donut.
so I have
wouldn't
no
know.
clue what
I don't
these
even watch
guys are
the
talking
show.
about.
I don't either. I'm just guessing.
Well, we've done a great job of summoning some energy. We're going to take a little bit of a commercial break, and then we will get into this main card. I am the SweetMBA. I am joined by...
The doctor, J.K. Akins.
We also brought in co-founder.
Brane Damage.
We are also joined by our special guest, Mr.
Fred,
Everything you-
Nothing special about that.
He's beyond special. He's beyond special.
I gotta work on that.
Hey, man, a
I'll let the
two-letter
fans
last
pick
name.
what
is
my
really
name is.
special.
You. Everything you hear, see, feel, edited, created, and mastered by super producer extraordinaire, DeShawn Davis. Find him on BeatStars. Is that the place? Find him, or he's flying a drone over your house recording you, because we get all to the dirt. For Dream Ear Productions. We'll be right back with a word from our sponsors. Thank you.
This is Tyson Griffin.
Sean Bunch.
Myron the Hitman Smith.
Jordan the Juggernaut Powell.
Maurício Alonso. Shout out to Cage Against the Machine, MMA Podcast. MMA Fantasy League for you. You Google them right now, because I'm about to Google them.
And we are back. Today's episode is brought to you by Butcher Son, because you're addicted to meat. We don't actually have any sponsors other than...
San Francisco 49ers.
Do they actually pay us?
Just
Not yet.
kidding.
Or do they make you pay to see them? Done with you, NFL. Done with you. How can you bring them up? If we
Hire
did have a
Kaepernick.
sponsor, it would be Seawolf in Oakland, California, who always takes care of us and allows us to watch MMA fights and has never kicked us out of the bar. In fact, they'd greet us with hugs. And sometimes we end up being security for them. And I'm not really sure about why we're security at a cop bar, but that's just the strange way of the world when you're an Avenger.
I would like to start this segment
Yes.
by simply saying, you boys all cap. I'm more Colin Kaepernick. And that was the line that was muted by Madden
Right.
originally.
You mean the Big Sean song?
Yes.
I have no idea who it
Big
is.
Sean,
but I heard it.
YG, Nicki Minaj, 2 Chainz.
That sounds like a bunch of reasons.
And
to-
after much uproar from the gaming community, they put out a software update to re-release that line in the song.
I bet you they did that on purpose to
Yep.
how to diffuse and
Yep.
handle the situation.
Yep.
You know,
And it just shows you the minds of gamers. It
Yeah.
took them how long to get that update out?
It took them exactly 16 hours.
But you can't fix these submissions in UFC 3.
Just saying.
just
saying. Just saying.
So can I ask you, have you ever played UFC?
not since like 3, maybe on.
No, that's what I'm saying, on 3. Are you any good at that?
Is it? I'm sorry, not since
Since
like
one.
the first one or like on
Oh,
Because
PS3.
I'm wondering, could you
No.
try it? Because we have a theory that you actually have to have a brown belt to be able to play the game.
I can try. Yeah, we'll figure
Because
that
we're
out
all
later. yeah.
gamers here, and none of us can actually play
Well,
that
see,
game.
that's the thing is I don't really consider myself to be a gamer. I just play sports games, and
But
that's
but
it.
you agree that you're able to play these other sports games, but you play UFC and you're like, this does not make sense.
I would like to think, even though I'm not a brown belt, I have a pretty damn good understanding of jujitsu, and I cannot figure that
cannot
out.
I
understand
wouldn't know
the
how to
game
capture that in controls and buttons. I mean, boxing, yes. That's a game that you can put into video games, but as far as like MMA, it's just so dynamic and so
Right.
much possibilities and like.
That is the
That's
reason
just too
why I
much going
use the
on.
single button when you're playing offline. You just can't use the single button submissions.
Yeah, that's
on
what it should be.
online play.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because you
don't
can't
know,
really
man.
capture it. Or they need to
tough.
make a whole separate game for jiu-jitsu and start there. So to me, this next fight to start off the main card, to me, is the headliner.
To us.
The fact that other people were on this this card was inconsequential to me. This is also the secret reason why I brought you here, Mr. Yu, because oftentimes when people try to ask me, well, what martial art do you train? And I could go into this long conversation about the evolution of Kung Fu and the fights in Taiwan and a certain tournament between a certain action star that's staring at me right now and a certain grandmaster who's the first person to train African Americans in Kung Fu. But that takes too long. Instead, I say, have you ever seen Zabit?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's Magomed Sharapov for those who are wondering.
And if you say that 3 times, you can go back to your dimension. So Zabit
Magomed Sharapov.
will be facing against Brane Davis, who has named himself Killer B, and I'm pretty sure he never checked with Ben Saunders on that.
You wonder
Right.
with the B, huh?
Speaking of which, did anybody know that last week in Times Square there was a swarm of bees?
Yes, I saw that.
How is there a swarm of bees and no new Wu-Tang album? Okay, so moving
No
on.
idea.
This is, unfortunately, this was supposed to be Zabit versus Yair Rodriguez, which was supposed to be a great, in our mind, a fireworks competition between Kung
got
Fu
a theory.
kicking and Taekwondo.
I've got a theory about that.
And first,
What, he's ducking him?
well, first he says, I'm leaving the UFC and I can't do this fight. Then he's injured, then he comes back, and then magically he's injured a week before the fight. What's your theory?
He never wanted that smoke to begin with.
Not
Right.
a chance.
Right.
Does anybody here actually want that smoke?
No, he'll
Probably not.
he'll take a fight with a washed up BJ Penn any day, but
Straight
then
up.
somebody that's a young stud
No.
just like him, then all of a sudden
He's not.
we got
He's not
problems.
fighting a Dagestani. He knows better. He knows better. But Brandon Davis seems to not know any better.
Yeah,
And
this dude,
Yeah, he's
for a
stepping
few
up.
days
That's
notice,
that's respectable, I
this
guess.
yeah, he made one.
Is it respectable or is it absolutely crazy?
it could just be a paycheck. Who knows?
I mean, it may be one of those put it in the bank with the brass, right? Mick Maynard,
True,
Sean
true,
Shelby.
true.
I hooked you up. We've seen that a lot. You know, I showed up and took a butt whooping. You'll give me a good fight later.
I mean, I have pretty high confidence in my taekwondo, and there's not a snowball's chance in hell I would take this fight on a 48-day notice. Not a snowball's chance in hell.
If it was even that, right?
You can forget it.
I don't think it was 48 days. Wasn't it just a few days ago?
That's why I said 48 hours.
I wouldn't
48
fight.
hours,
I wouldn't
okay.
fight Zabit with DeShawn's body.
Yeah. Point blank.
I wouldn't even.
I wouldn't fight
I wouldn't even be a
Zabit on the
sparring
video
partner.
game y'all are talking about.
Yeah, I'd watch him from the stands. Good job. Hey, get the clinch. You got it. I'd cheer him. I'd score his fights. Train with him? No, we were just talking about injuries in the break. No thanks.
No.
That dude.
Had plenty of those. Thank you very much.
Because you got to put it in perspective. So let's understand the background aside from the nerdiness of his style that I'm so excited about.
Yeah.
Because to see a San Shou fighter be at the high levels and go, this is what we do.
Yeah.
The other level of it is he trains at Mark Henry's gym. So his contemporaries there are a cheater by the name of Eddie Alvarez. These are facts. But he also trains with Frankie Edgar with that incredible wrestling. He's also got the kickboxing to counter of Edson Barbosa.
Barbosa, yep. Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, he spends his time with Muslim Sokolov.
And then
King of Kung Fu.
King of
Is,
Kung Fu.
Yep.
is Ricardo Almeida still the jiu-jitsu coach over
Yeah,
there too?
yeah. I mean, that's his gym. Yeah. So then you got that Henzo Gracie jiu-jitsu. So you've got Dagestani wrestling, you know, from the mountain San Shou, like wushu training from a little kid. And I've said this many times on the show. When you start studying the Dagestani and the way they use Kung Fu,
I think he trained in Shaolin.
he spent some time there. Yeah. And in perspective, there are many videos you see of, in America, I'm trying to find the equivalent, that people use football to get themselves out of really bad, impoverished situations that might lead them to a life of crime. Wushu and Kung Fu is used in the same way in Dagestani.
So I got a theory on Zabit on
Yes.
how he can pull off like all these trickery and stuff like
Yes.
that. I mean, if you watch his training montage, he's like always doing kicks like on top of a ball.
Yes.
Like doing kicks
Yeah,
with
yeah,
arrows.
yeah.
You saw
Yeah,
the
yeah,
video
yeah.
that Adam
Yeah,
saw.
yeah.
And then at the same time, he spent 6 years doing wushu at like a wushu academy.
Yes.
And I had the opportunity to train in Beijing for wushu like one
Yes.
summer, and all they do is live and breathe like wushu. They
Yes.
don't go to school. There's like dormitories where they have
Did you
like
ever see that Dragon Girl documentary?
no,
When the Sifu sent, where it's like, that's just showing this girl, like, just that story of her just training wushu
Yeah.
and basically San Shou all day.
Yeah. I mean, I guarantee you that's what he did for 6 years was
Yes,
just
yes,
live
yes.
and breathe. All they
Yes.
do is eat, train 3 times a day. So the reason why he's probably so dynamic is because there's such a core group of kids, and
Yes.
and then all they do is fool around with trickery. Like they do the fundamentals, fighting and stuff like that. But then on the free time, they're doing like tricks on each other and just
Yes,
like
yes.
you know, you can imagine just like dormitory, just like playing games on each other, doing little fancy kicks and like
Yeah.
tricking each other and tag like wushu tag or whatever it is,
Yep.
you know. So
Well, the one thing I will say to tag on to your point is the key for me will always be dexterity in the hips, and his dexterity is something like you've never seen.
Yeah.
And and the quickness of his kicks are what is surprising, because you normally get that type of quickness out of a taekwondo practitioner.
Yep.
yep.
And it's incredible the way he's able to put those together, and it's harmony.
You can't acquire that without being like secluded in a school for like 6 years. I mean, that's the reason why he's so dynamic and fluid, you know. Brandon Davis is not someone to sleep on either, though. He's very fundamental. He's a grinder. He's got grit, man.
He'll go to sleep, but
He'll go-
I mean, sure. I mean, he may not be one to sleep on, but he will go to sleep.
I think the other secret here, without giving away too much game, is Brane Davis is a grinder, which means a foundation in wrestling. And I think there's an assumption when you have a striker, and this is fair for many of them, especially Taekwondo guys, when you get them in the clinch, they don't know what to do, and they're limited.
That is actually, I think that is a very fair
But
assessment.
when you fight a San Shou person, they're doing a lot of counters from the clinch. The wrestling actually sets up so many strikes because that's kind of one of the cores of Tai Chi. So the trickery is going to come from starting this. So the question is, what round does the knockout come from? My thought is it's going to be a second round knockout by spinning leg to left hook.
You know, I never pick rounds. I'm just.
I know. I
taking
try to
the
bait you. I
KO.
try to bait you. It's like I
just
drop
take
the
the
hand.
KO.
Like
I'm gonna agree and say second round spinning technique, but that's gonna create an opening for submission.
ooh, a submission. Okay.
So Zabit got good submissions too.
Brain.
First round,
First round submission or knockout?
knockout.
Zabit?
Yep.
Unanimous. Okay, moving on to our next fight. This is complicated for me. Very, very complicated. I am a huge fan of Carla Esparza. I was really surprised at the outcome of her last fight. I thought with her rebuilding her system that she was going to show some big promise. I don't understand what happened still. If there's a person that's supposed to beat her, she got put into the ring with them. Tatiana Suarez, on numbers alone, is a great counter for Carla Esparza. I'm trying not to be sentimental
Why? Why are you sentimental?
because I want Carla to win, but I feel like she's been fed to Tatiana to lose.
Yeah. I would agree with you. Tatiana's big. They both got strong wrestling backgrounds.
Yes.
Carla's been known to have trouble trying to close the distance due to her height, punching her way in. You saw that with Joanna.
Yes,
Joanna kept her
yes.
at bay. She
Yes.
wasn't able to shoot.
Yep.
Tough. And the one she shoots low, and Tatiana's definitely is going to sprawl really hard on that. I think Tatiana's going to win from the top.
I got Tatiana as well. I didn't really enjoy Carla Esparza on the season of Tough that they were on.
Right.
Her and Penne and Felice, they just seemed like they're a little bit of bullies to some of the Shire girls. So I didn't really enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was against you in that. Who was it that beat her? Claudia Gadelia?
Yeah.
So
Well, you know why I rooted for her though, right?
yeah, I know she trains locally or something. Yeah.
No, she's from the area. That's why.
Where's she from? Where's she
She's from
from?
San Jose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The other thing, by the way, I forgot. I'm mad at you. I'm so mad at you, Brane.
Why?
Maurice Green. Maurice Green from the Tough this week.
I didn't even know Tough started. I missed it.
Yeah.
Did you
Started
see
on
it?
Wednesday. I did not see it.
I did not
Show's still
see it.
going
You guys
on,
know-
huh? I
do you
thought
know
they were
who
going to
Maurice-
cancel
Yeah.
it.
do you-
Believe it or not, I was doing
Watch
my
that-
film study. I was doing my film study for this podcast.
Watch that episode, and you'll know why I'm mad. It's all you
Okay.
guys' fault.
Okay. Well,
All I gotta say
am
is
gonna-
Biggie Smalls.
That is
I'll
so
just
much-
say that Carla Esparza and Cage Cousins, I know you've heard me before, so I will say this again. I have always had an issue with fighters who are unable to finish fights because eventually it comes back at you.
Yeah.
And Carla Esparza is one of the fighters out there, both male or female, that is unable to finish fights. However, with that being said, these are the fights that young fighters tend to lose.
Right.
And sometimes these are the fights where experience takes over. And if Suarez does not keep Esparza at the end of her jab, she is going to be susceptible to the lady that I call the queen of the ground and pound.
Agreed.
So, I am going to take Esparza by decision. I think she is going to ragdoll Suarez.
I like your optimism. I cannot allow my heart to get fluttery.
Yeah, for me, this is not
Yeah.
about optimism. This is just about watching the film. And this is what the film tells me.
Fair. And unfortunately, that's the MBA in me who looks over and goes, takedown accuracy of 81%. I think this goes to Suarez by decision.
I got Suarez 3rd round submission.
Oof.
That's Suarez by split decision.
Go.
Split decision, so it's close.
We're rooting for you, Carla, obviously. Moving on to our next fight. We have
Oh boy.
JK's favorite
Oh
fighter.
boy. Jessica Andrade versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
This is going to be fireworks.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
Is it?
I think it's going to be a good technical back and
Yes,
forth.
sir.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, this seems like a very one-sided fight.
Which side?
I don't see a snowball chance in heck of Carolina making it through this fight. I
Because
think
Jessica takes her down?
and beats her up. And this is her weakness. Remember, people she's faced when they get her on the ground, they choke her out in seconds. Remember what Gadea did to her?
We
In
got to keep
seconds.
in mind. We got to keep in mind. I want to point this out early. The 2 fighters that Kowalkiewicz has lost to have been the 2 best strawweights in the world.
Fair.
So I mean, I just got to put that out there first.
Yes.
With that being said, I see the one glaring difference between these 2 ladies is Jessica Andrade always has the strength
Yes.
difference. She always has the strength advantage. And although Karolina Kowalkiewicz is a big, strong, strapping lady who is very strong on the ball of her feet, once this fight gets to the ground, she is like a tortoise on a beach. And it's really that simple. I am going to take Andrade to win this fight by submission.
I would also add that Andrade walks through strikes. She is just a mule.
she does.
She
She
just
does
walks
eat 'em.
through strikes, okay?
She does eat them.
So Carolina does not have the knockout power.
Yeah, I agree. With
She
that.
might as well be the Ken to the former champions Ryu.
I wouldn't say that she doesn't have the power because if you look back at the film,
Yeah.
it's been some hammer time.
It has, but those people had no chin.
Okay. All right.
So you play that game against Andrade, she's going to take your 5 Muay Thai combos, and once she gets her hands around you, she get that power, puts you down on the ground. And when she starts dropping them bombs,
I would say there is one thing to watch out for.
okay,
When I watched Andrade, I decided to go back from her all the way back to her first fight in the UFC, which
Yeah.
was against Liz Carmouche.
right?
And the one thing that I saw that remained the same from then till now is when she comes in, her right hand is extremely low.
Yes.
Kowalkiewicz can take advantage of that with a lead leg head kick.
Agreed.
So watch out for that early.
No, I mean, but I think she can tank through that.
I think Andrade is definitely going to be in the fight the whole time, but I think Carolina has enough to mix it up,
Okay.
technique-wise, and pitter-patter her up until to the majority decision or unanimous decision. Andrade is no joke too. She's always in the fight. And she's scrappy. She's always going. She's a go-getter. But Carolina's smart. She's been through the gauntlet with Joanna, and she's got that experience where
Yes.
she's just gonna. She's got spinning back fists. She's got the push kicks. She's got the high kicks. She's going to be bouncing around and avoiding some of the things you guys are talking about, I think.
I'm just wondering whether or not Kowalkiewicz's coaches have seen the same thing on film that I've seen. Because if they have, watch for that lead head kick early. And that's the part that does scare me about this fight. Because, yeah, sure, you can have all the chin in the world until your chin is met with a shin.
I'd also say, conversely, Carolina has a serious problem on the ground.
I completely agree.
I have not seen any progress on the ground.
I completely agree.
And you're fighting somebody who does jiu-jitsu tournaments weekly for fun.
Yeah, that's what my thinking was more aligned with, like the mix of Fred and JK, where I was thinking Carolina was gonna be, fighting her off with the jab, pitter patter, and the strikes, for about a round and a half, and then Jessica gets that takedown and gets the submission. And my pick was her second round submission for Andrade. Right. Is it safe to say that this is a clear shot at Rose Namajunas' title, number one contender?
I think that's extremely fair to say.
I think that'll be a fun fight.
Except for the fact that the business a-hole in me says the winner of this just fights Joanna, and then we do the trilogy because it brings in money.
Okay.
That's a valid point.
Okay.
It's not about what's right.
I think that's a valid point.
You're starting with that argument.
Point. Hold on. Let me finish. Yes. I think that's a valid point. However, with that being said, when you get your behind ran through twice, you can't see the champ again. I'm sorry.
I think that what you're saying is what's right. I agree with it. I just want to speak on behalf of this force that's running the world called capitalism and warn you, prepare for disappointment.
Notice
Message.
Notice that Dotson didn't see Johnson a third time.
But notice
that Benavidez didn't either.
He didn't climb the ranks the way, though.
Should I even open
what is Young J-Check done? She hasn't climbed no ladder. The only ladder she has climbed is the ladder of delusion.
Now you know where it starts.
It's
it's the ladder of delusion. Have you guys been watching those Yoanna J-Check interviews? She sounds like a nutcase. I'm sorry.
We have been texting back and forth.
Where you at, Mikey
You
Mo?
and Joanna?
Where you at, Mikey Mo?
You know where I stand on this. You know I agree with you.
No, I know you agree. I'm just pointing this out for the Cage cousins.
Just in case I didn't make it clear. You know Rose is like from our school, right?
Yeah,
so we're always going to be Team Rose, even if she's wrong. Rose could have thrown that dolly at Conor McGregor and be like, maybe I should have moved it out the way.
I mean,
why you had to park the bus there? You know what I mean? Okay?
Why didn't you just levitate the bus?
I'm just trying to frame the conversation with my good friends so when it happens, you don't get outraged so you understand where the money's at.
I completely agree with your assessment.
JK has a point. Joanna's a little bit crazy, but that is probably to Brett's point where this sells this fight because people see that Joanna's crazy and she's all speaking like she's still the champ, you know?
Because they want to see Rose beat up the bully again. And everybody wants to see Rose beat her up and knock her out after she's talking about, I'm the boogeyman, I kill you. They want to see that. Rose is doing teen MTV and Vogue Awards and
they
want to see it.
Just the simple, slight delusion for her to have the audacity, the gall, and dare I say, the testicular fortitude to sit up there on a doggone press conference stage and talk about, I'm the queen. Nah, son, you're not the queen. You might be a princess in Disneyland, but not the queen of the strawweight division. I'm gonna need you to get some smelling salts and wake the hell up. How about that?
We're gonna bring it back.
If Jessica wins, they might have set that fight up with Rose. Carolina has already fought Rose.
But was this thought brought on by the fact that Rose did express that she's like, okay, now I'm the champ. I've defended. I've shown it wasn't just a fluke. Now let me get some vacation time in.
This was also Rose saying, you need to admit who the actual best is.
But what I'm saying is Brett saying, oh, well, they'll throw Joanna and the winner of Andrade and Carolina.
Y'all, I love
because
you to death.
That's a lot of time off for Rose, too. I feel like you speak
English, but we talk in different dialects. Let me explain something to you. I'm going to give you an analogy. There are people who wear bicycle gear all the time, tight pants and all those things and the Italian things, and they buy all this bicycle gear. They never ride a bike. That's what's called casual. The people who actually wear the gear and ride the bike, they're called a niche market. Okay? UFC is still, although it's growing, like soccer, it's still dominated by casuals. Right? Speaking of casuals.
Casual fans dominate all major professionals across the board.
Which is why the NFL is having trouble. It's their conversion rate. So the casual audience wants to see Joanna and Rose. And speaking of casuals, Dylan Dennis, I'm not going to warn you again. Do not use language from the hip-hop community if you do not contribute to it.
Stop it.
And all your fanboys on your page, I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to you.
Stop it.
Stay away from our culture if you're not going to contribute to it.
Matter of fact,
I myself, I don't speak in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and say os because I haven't paid my dues to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu like my brother has. I think you should respect our culture.
Matter of fact, let me just take this a step further. You gotta pay to get in this lane, kid. It's just that simple. You gotta pay to get in the lane.
What we're referring to is Dylan Dennis called us out on Instagram.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, because he likes him and his he who shall not be named. That's what we call him, the Dark Lord here. Yes. They like to use hip hop quotes, and I took offense to it and said, you should leave that out of your mouth, especially when you're talking about one Habib Nurmagomedov. And the response was, "That's not your culture." And I'm like, "Really?
Really?
So how does that work in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
So if I went to jiu-jitsu, can I walk around in a gi and wear a black belt and say that I'm a Gracie, right? Like I have to pay dues to the culture, right?
Yeah.
So he tried to make this fictitious argument. I was like, it's interesting when it's people of color, there's no culture and everybody can share it. But when it's not people of color, all of a sudden, wait, you got to pay your dues.
First of all, Dylan Dennis, I'm talking to you, and I'm just gonna speak straight to you right now. See, your people are guilty of robbing culture across the world for the last 600 years. So how dare you come at us talking about what you can and can't do with our culture? Son, stay in your lane.
And if you have a problem, JK would like to see you.
No problem. Come see me.
And what-
Matter of fact, hey, hit us up on our Instagram. We can have a conversation.
JK would like to have a sparring match with you. I would have a sparring match with you, but I don't want to have to fill out a form for beating up somebody smaller. Anyways, we're gonna move on and take a break. This is round 0 on the Cage Against the Machine brand. I am the SweetMBA. I'm joined here by
Red U.
I'm also brought and have accompanied with the evil doctor,
J.K. Akins.
and he brought with him
Brane.
and everything you hear, listen to, see, feel, experience, and want is brought to you by Dream Air Productions. Mr. DeShawn Davis, the super producer. Find him on BeatStars. Take one home. We'll be back in a minute.
Stuff that drinks are made of.
That's what I love San Shou for, man. Anything goes. That's what I love about it. And we are black, brown,
As hell.
and yellow. And we're taking over. We might actually be, right now we symbolize the future. It's great. This is an exciting moment what we're going to talk about. We are now at the co-main event of the evening. And let's put some context to why this is important. One, Nico Montano, sorry. I've been watching too much Scarface. Versus Valentina, the Bullet Shevchenko.
Shevchenko.
He is African and speaks 6 languages. I'm American. I lose all language after I get into college. Facts. Okay. Why is this contextually important? Nico is our first, I can't think of another person, a first pronounced Native American, First Nations, indigenous UFC fighter on a large scale.
That is correct.
There might be other, and respectfully, there might be other Native American fighters who have been of high profile in the UFC. I can't think of you, but definitely seeing her story about going from Muay Thai and that movement. And I actually remember when people were starting going to reservations and training martial arts back in the day. So it's really cool to see this. And also being the first UFC women's flyweight champion coming out of the tough competition, which I was heartbroken that it wasn't Sajara Eubanks, but that's life. Versus maybe my second favorite woman fighter ever, the Bullet, who brings a San Shou style kickboxing with just an aggression. It's just this. It's almost like watching Crow Cop as a woman. And surprisingly, although ethnically Eastern European, culturally and nationality-wise Peruvian. So she brings a South American flair to it too. And you may have remembered she has fought Amanda Nunes to close decisions twice. She obliterated. Who did she choke out?
Juliana Peña.
That's right. When Isha was like, "Oh my God," and I was like, "No, the bullet's about to destroy your girl."
And by the way, Shevchenko is not Dagestani, but she is from a neighboring country.
Absolutely.
Kyrgyzstan.
Right. And by the way, her sister was on Dana White's.
Antonia Shevchenko.
She was on Dana White's
Tuesday Night Contender Series.
Did you see that fight?
I did.
Are they from Oakland?
There might
Why
be a
did
tad
every
of that
time
in
she
it.
landed a punch, she's like, hey, hey, hey. I was like, are y'all from the town?
That's a Muay Thai thing, but yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
We just like to
Muay
take-
Thai from Oakland. No. Maybe Oakland's in Thailand.
Maybe.
It's hot. Okay, never mind. So this is an incredible
Fuck, it's
fight.
hot.
However, I'm really worried. I like both of these fighters. And as we always have the saying, you're not really a champ until you defend it. So we got to really see where this is going to go. There's a lot of pressure here. We have not seen the champion defend their belt. They haven't been active for a year. I'm a little worried about that. And I know that Valentina has definitely been up in her bag of tricks. And her former training partner before this was none other.
Then the strawweight champion, Rose Namajunas.
Very dangerous. I love you very much, Nico, and I think you're going to have a long and lasting career. But I do believe that the era of the Valentina sisters has arrived, and I do believe that this is going to end up by fourth round, by a fourth round knockout with some disgusting knees.
I'm just going to make this short and sweet.
Stop talking about me.
There is nothing in Montano's game that I see poses a threat to Shevchenko on literally any level, be it striking, in the clinch, on the ground. She literally has nothing for Shevchenko, period. In short, this is going to be quick, and there is not a snowball's chance in hell that Montano will retain the championship.
Basically, you got to stab her.
Shevchenko,
You gotta hit her with a
by
bottle.
KO.
You gotta cut her braids off or something.
Yeah. Nico has heart, but I wrote right here Valentina by landslide TKO. It's just Nico needs a lot more experience. Valentina has tons of experience. Fought for the belt.
Yes.
The way she fights, the tenacity that Valentina brings, it's intense, and I don't think Nico is at all prepared for that level.
We're talking about a woman that went toe-to-toe with the best pound-for-pound fighter in women's MMA in Amanda Nunes, and went toe-to-toe with her.
And beat Holly Holmes, yep.
And there's just not a snowball's chance in hell that Montano will win this fight.
Yeah.
There is one chance if she gets a glove that brings together all these jewels of the universe, she could snap her finger and take out half of Shevchenko's abilities. But other than that,
I like how he keeps butchering her name, but
on
in different
purpose.
ways.
Remember, we have to do the old black uncle thing here. I like that girl.
What her name is? What her name is?
Shavanka? What's her name? Ivanka Trump? What? I like that girl. She got the tattoo.
Yeah, and props to Nico. She's been slept on throughout that whole competition.
did.
It's tough.
They didn't give
She
her
was the
credit.
underdog in every fight. So in one instance, I can't count her out, but I agree with everything that was said here. I picked her as my very first pick in our MMA fantasy league, and as soon as Shevchenko won that last fight, I was like, there goes my belt.
There goes
my belt.
Hey, I forgot.
Bye-bye.
Pull the
He
parachute.
texted me that day. He's like, well, I quit. I was like, what's wrong? I thought it was something else. He's like, man, the bullet just joined the flyweights. I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
And the one word that comes to mind every time I think about Valentina Shevchenko is just savage.
Timber.
Savage.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm going second round TKO.
I just go back to that Juliana Pena fight where I tried to warn Isha. And I was like, look, your girl's sitting there talking about marriage, making cups of coffee. The Bullet is sitting on a mountain in Denver doing yoga poses and working on her sidekick. I mean, if you think this fight
Big shout out to Miss Horton, by the way.
Yeah.
Get at me soon, girl.
Yeah, if you think this fight's going your way, I'm sorry. I think we're unanimous in this. It's still going to be fun to watch, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd also say back to your comment, Brane, I think the problem with Nico also, unfortunately, is everybody slept on the talent, and I think so many women in that division have developed since those last fight that you could almost throw them all in the tournament again, and you would get very different results.
True.
The people who are at the top of the tournament have wilted, and the rest have really ground. Like, look at Roxanne Modafferi.
Yeah.
She's a different fighter.
She looked like a whole
She's a different fighter. It's a different game, right? So,
and now she's the kids jiu-jitsu coach over at Syndicate MMA.
right. Yeah. Training with none other than Khalil Rountree. Very excited. Moving on to this moment. Do you want to lead us in? It is now time.
For the main event of the evening. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner. He is the man from England. The type of guy that Josh Shire says cannot fight. Ladies and gentlemen, Darren the Gorilla Till. And fighting out of the red corner, the man hailing from Ferguson, Missouri, by way of St. Louis. He is the welterweight champion of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the chosen one, Tyron Woodley.
You even got the buffer roll, too. I mean, I'm so proud of you.
We gotta get wireless headphones so he could do the 360 too.
And the jump. He's got to get the jump. I'm just so proud of him. So a couple things before we start. Let's start with the foolishness. Is that your girlfriend Gisette on your arm, or is that Beyonce?
Definitely not Beyonce.
I don't know. He's got some issues.
He ain't that crazy in love.
He is that crazy in love. Before I want to talk about Tyron, let's talk about Darren Till. This is really a middleweight who pretends to be a 170.
Man, listen.
Right.
He has got incredible Muay Thai. He is a darling of many of the Muay Thai community in London, but he is also the disciple of one of Brane and I's favorite fighters. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Dan? Remember the British guy with that? What? Yeah.
Hardy?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Dan Hardy is the one who
know
really
that.
got him to MMA. Yeah. They spent a lot of time. Do you know Dan Hardy is always the one who interviews him?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
This is before you went to Brazil?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, when he's a kid, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. But speaking of Brazil, one thing to think about is I've never really seen Till tested on the ground. Okay, so now let's also bring up one thing that he said. One thing that he has said that it was really interesting.
He's the best in the world?
He also said the thing that he's fighting with Tyron Woodley, everyone thinks it's his wrestling and his striking. He said the thing that makes Tyron Woodley so dominant is his intelligence. He said he is the most intelligent and cerebral fighter in the history of MMA. And if you don't think he's smart, that's how you lose. And for him to look the way he does and talk the way he does, I thought that was really interesting. Flip side, Tyron Woodley on a certain podcast, shout out to Joe Rogan, said many years ago, 2 years ago, I watch all the welterweights and I know eventually I'm going to have to face Darren Till and he's a problem. Mm-hmm. So they're both, this is a number game to these guys. They've been watching each other across the room for a long time.
Yeah.
What can we say about Tyron Woodley? Very dominant welterweight, on the track to be the most dominant welterweight. Very outspoken. Maybe the leader of the woke tribe of MMA. Powerful wrestler. His striking is coming and just getting more and more powerful in terms of it. He's also the criticism has often been his two fights against what's his name?
Stephen Thompson.
And I call it what's his name because nobody really knows Thompson's name. They just wanted to see Tyron Woodley lose. But how do you fight? How do you fight a kickboxer? So for us as martial artists, you watch that fight and you're like, you did it right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was in a room full of guys I fight with, and we all agreed, yeah, that was pretty boring. So he did it right.
Yeah.
It still sucked as a fight.
Yeah.
And the fight with Maya as well.
Right, he does it right. His strategy and his game plan is correct.
Completely on point.
Right.
You're not
Is
going
it
to get in the
in-
water with the alligator, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, is it
Exactly.
entertaining though? Here we go back to the
But-
casual.
It depends.
And then
It depends,
you look
right?
at the fight with Wonder Boy and Till. It was the same exact thing.
Yeah.
He did it right for fighting Wonder Boy style,
Right.
but it was boring.
The bottom
And
line is
he
this.
had more violence in his post-fight speech with Stephen Thompson, Darren Till did, than the entire 25-minute fight.
But the bottom line is this. You're going to avoid getting your head kicked off. End of story. I
Right.
mean, what are you
Exactly.
supposed to do?
What if-
are you supposed to jump out of the plane without a parachute?
Agreed. Well, most people do. This is America. What if 170 is such a technical division that it is a boring division? What
And
if
I mean,
170
and-
is for martial
And
artists?
who's the guy that was the long-reigning champion?
I'm saying.
Safety first.
But was it safety? Yeah, I mean, again, you look at his strategies. I mean,
Right,
you might.
exactly.
I mean,
the game plan always worked, but
Brane, is there a bigger hater of GSP fights than Brett Sweet?
could be brain damage.
I mean, we would spend most of the fight like, oh my God, I want to sleep. But you can't criticize the technique. He does everything right.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering now that I look at this division, this is one of those things like, there's a coach that Fred and I have that said something very astute. And he was talking about how real martial arts duels actually happen, whether it's a sport or actually masters fighting. He says, generally, two guys fight, and either one guy wins amazingly and it's very quick and it's devastating, or both people chop each other up and they have irreparable damage for the rest of their life, but it's pretty much a tie. Okay. I wonder if the welterweight division is the epitome of that.
That's
Thinking
crazy.
about Robbie Lawler and the Red King. Thinking about this, like either it's one-sided and somebody gets obliterated, or you get somebody who's so equally matched that it's a super chess game, doesn't really sell a lot of tickets because nobody's getting obliterated.
But there have been some wars. Because when you bring up Lawler and Rory, those were some good fights.
They were never the same after.
True,
and then-
exactly.
I mean,
ended their careers.
Condit and Lawler.
For me, especially because I have been heavily involved with the welterweight division and what's been going on there, right? One of the things that I have experienced the most is that for most people, Tyron Woodley being the champion is the worst thing that could have happened.
Yes.
And you know why.
It's almost as bad as Anderson Silva being the 185 champion.
Yeah. And you know why.
Whatever.
Is it
could that
because
be?
he's outspoken?
No, it's not that.
That in conjunction with the fact that he shares a hue the same as mine.
Oh, yeah. I feel you on that one.
It's really just that
But
simple.
that's what I'm saying. With the conscience that he has.
Yes. And the one thing that I have learned throughout the course of my life, and yes, you can at me, the most hated thing in the world and the scariest thing in the world is a man of color who is intelligent and doesn't fall for the okie doke.
Right. Undebatable.
Point blank, period. I don't care how you slice it. Men of color who are intelligent and are articulate and can fight battles without ever throwing a fist scare the hell out of the masses.
I didn't think Anderson was hated for any of that. He was definitely respected. A lot of
Yes,
love.
but he was not outspoken.
Okay.
I think you and I felt emotional about that. We liked him. Brane and I went to this fight, and everybody to the right of us were Anderson fans. Everybody to the left pretended they were Nick Diaz fans, and when we asked them who Nick Diaz was, they couldn't answer.
Right.
But the whole fight,
Yeah.
they kept saying, "Kill him! Kill that!" And we said, "Kill that what?" Finish the sentence.
Yep.
And I actually remember that. I actually asked the dude. I said, "Finish the sentence." He looked at me and left.
Really?
Yep.
Right? That's why we actually started the podcast.
Where was the fight? Vegas?
Vegas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, oh, yeah.
And the looks on people's faces, like there was don't get me wrong. There was a Diaz contingent there.
Yeah.
But that was
Yeah,
the
of
majority of
course.
the people came there to see
And that's what
Anderson get
happened.
his leg broken.
And that's
again.
the same thing that happened
Yeah.
with Tyron Woodley.
Yeah.
When he won the fight, I happened to be at that fight. When he won the fight, people were like, oh, well, Tyron still sucks. And I was like, what you really mean is that he's black. Mm-hmm. And they looked at me and then they walked off. And I said, exactly.
And the reality is, what they really want to see is Tyron and Colby.
Right.
As much as they hate it, they really want to see Tyron and Colby. They're hoping they want that new Chael Sonnen. How can Darren Till win?
He's not nearly that intelligent.
How can Darren Till win? Can he win?
Oh, of course he can.
And
He's
how would he do
got
it?
power.
I
He's
picked
got
him.
power.
He's got the power.
I think Tyron's definitely got the better skill set. He's more well-rounded, and he's going to have a game plan to negate everything that Darren Till is good at. But he also could get caught.
I was watching all of Tywin's fights, the past 5 or 6 fights. He's backpedaling a lot right off the bell. We should,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, he's backpedaling, but that's why he's so cerebral, is because he's backpedaling and waiting for his chance. So how he's been winning is that he's get this one power leg shot that sets up and derails the whole plan.
Yeah.
With his opponents, and then takes advantage of him finishing them.
Yes.
That's what happened to all of his wins so far. At least the finishes.
Yeah.
But with Darren Till, his southpaw. He's got a very wide stance, and you know from sparring that whoever wins that outside leg on a
Yes,
southpaw
yeah.
versus a orthodox stance wins the fight.
Yeah.
And Darren Till also has this weird like hands up kind of mechanism. Yes. So the only thing that Tyron can do is probably a leg kick, but then with that wide stance, it'll be tough to get that outside leg kick. And with the hands in the way, it's going to be tough with the overhand right. Yeah. So I'm picking Darren for a decision. Decision win. I don't think Darren's going to finish Tyron.
No.
I don't think Tyron. I just don't know. Like Darren's just got this 4-inch height advantage on Tyron, and I don't think he's faced somebody with that challenge before.
He has.
Yes. Okay.
He has.
Oh, Rory probably.
He has.
Yeah, but that's what scares me is that in the Rory fight, Tyron looked like he was in his own head, and
Well, you know why, right? You know why?
I don't know why.
Where
I
was the
never
fight?
understood that fight.
Where was the fight?
Oh, what was that? What is that?
Canada,
Oh, right.
we stand on guard for thee.
What happened that week?
I have no idea.
Mike Brown was murdered and left in the street.
Oh,
Ferguson-
I never realized that was.
That was the same week. That's why he looked that way.
Yep.
Yeah, because there was.
Because
I
he's
knew
in
there was something
Canada
off.
and he
I
really
was
wants
like,
to be at
dude.
home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what that was.
I
I don't
think
know. I haven't talked to Tyron about that, but I would throw that out there. You brought up a great point, Fred. How would Tyron win if he's going to deal with this strategy?
Smelling salts. What I see
salts.
is
Buck crazy.
very similar to how he put out Robbie Lawler. You're going to see a lot of feints, a lot of jab to begin with, followed by hoping that he can get Darren Till off kilter with the feint and come over the top with the right hand.
Okay.
But Darren has this imposing power where he's moving forward. He would have to jog him with a strong
Which also falls into Tyron's
game.
game because at that point, once it's a double leg and he puts you on the shoulder, you're going for a ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't want Tyron to fall into a firefight with this because that's what happened when he fought Nate Marquardt when he had the belt in Strikeforce and he ended up getting pushed up against the cage and the combo would just obliterated him. I feel like that was something that was one of the best things to ever happen to Tyron because
Tyron
his game
is
has
a
been
totally different
so
fighter
up
now
since that
than he
loss.
was.
Yeah, it made him expand his camp.
right.
It made him spend more time with Dean Thomas. It made him go over and start hanging out with the Pettises. I also I don't want to be a hater, but Nate Marquardt was one of the first people to be a victim to something called USADA. Dun, 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 dun.
That is true. That is true.
He was huge.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that if he gets into a brawl,
Yes,
that's when
agreed.
things could start becoming dangerous for him.
So a brawl benefits Darren Till. I
Yeah.
think Fred brought up a great point, though. I do want to warn you guys. I think as of last month, we saw that belts can change hands on decisions now.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
I think he means close decisions.
Real close.
No, just decisions.
Razor thin.
I think decisions. I think if you do not play ball with the management, belts can change hands with decisions.
Gillette razor thin.
It wasn't that close to me. It was like
yeah.
3 rounds versus 2 rounds. That's not
No,
close to me.
I meant in terms of the challenger actually winning the belt.
Yeah, like meaning exactly. So, to maintain his status as champion, Tyron has to either finish or get at least 2 knockdowns. He has to get a knockdown. He has to get a knockdown per round. He can get away with a takedown per round, but he has to get 2 knockdowns. He doesn't have to knock out, but that has to be the goal.
So the one thing that I do also notice, how I was talking about Darren's hands up like this.
Yes.
It's very protective of looping punches.
Yes.
And Tyron's punches are looping.
Yeah, they're all.
Yes,
they're all
yes, his
tight
right
hooks.
hand is.
Yeah, and if you look at, he doesn't have a lot of straight techniques. Like
No.
you would have to do that to someone with his hands out like this.
Yeah.
Definitely straight attacks.
Then what I would suggest that you look out for, because we also need to keep in mind that Duke Rufus is his coach.
Yes.
And what I would see Duke Rufus saying after watching that film on Darren Till is, if you get inside, he's going to be extremely susceptible to the hook to the body.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's one thing that I would watch out for. And obviously, let's be honest, Darren Till is not very athletic. He's very stiff. He's very stiff and he's very slow. And when you're facing a guy with the athleticism of a Tyron Woodley, you need to be very careful of the explosive strike.
You're also fighting somebody who doesn't believe in game plans. They figured out the night of.
He's young, confident, that's the typical,
Yeah, I like that you brought up that hook to the body, because I didn't think of that one bit. And now that you said that, I feel like that's going to be something
Leaves
that
it wide open in every single fight.
Especially
it's gonna
southpaw to
it's gonna
orthodox
be there,
stance,
and that could be.
Yep.
Yep.
I think leg kick and that would be the solution for Tyron.
Also, the kick to the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say the liver kick.
Though Darren has this little swiping thing, that Muay Thai swiping thing.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
like, that might be
Yeah,
catching
the
this.
swiping block.
I would,
Yes.
if I was Tyron, I would kick low kicks, beat up the front leg kick, and then it starts opening it up the hook to the body, then overhead. Right, would probably seal the deal.
And again, one of you guys brought it up earlier. We haven't seen much of Till's ground defense, and Tyron's got a few submissions to his record. We know he started as a wrestler
He
and
hasn't
became a
shot.
striker.
He's been gunshotting the
You know what I
shots
mean?
for some
So,
reason. I don't know. Like I haven't seen him
that's an
shoot in a
advantage that he
long
could
time.
take.
Who are we talking about?
Tyron.
Tyron?
Yeah,
The
he
reason
hasn't-
why is it depends on the person that he's fighting.
Yeah, he hasn't faced anybody that
So he
needs
hasn't
to.
needed to do that, and if he does do it, it would have been to somebody extremely
And the
dangerous
last 3
like a Damian Maya.
Yeah,
right, the
you
last
wouldn't
3
play
people
with
that he's
that.
fought were looking for it, right? So if you go to the ground with Damian Maya, like you said, that's
It's a wrap.
swimming with a crocodile.
It's a wrap.
Wonder Boy is looking. I mean, what he did to Johnny Hendricks was every time that guy shot, he just got that roundhouse to the head, caught him every time. So I think that's what he was looking for. This has been a range of fun.
Yes, it has.
I have really enjoyed. We hope that you will come back every month.
Please do, Freddie.
Yeah, we will
Yeah.
make you food. We will bribe you with coffee. We'll make it easy on you. We'll pick you up.
This
from
was
work.
fun. Thank you guys for having me. It's
Yeah, this was.
something I could not say no
Certainly
to.
an honor to have you here.
Yeah.
I like how you
thanks,
just throw
JK.
out techniques after techniques. It really just points out some stuff, and it also. I have so many questions for you this weekend. As always, I am the SweetMBA. I am joined by,
The evil doctor, J.K. Akins.
as well as co-founder,
Brane Damage.
and we are brought with our special guest, who we're hoping will be a reoccurring member.
Fred, you.
And of course, everything brought to you production-wise and thought about by the nefarious and amazing super producer, DeShawn Davis at Dream Air Productions. Find him on BeatStar. And other than that, we will see you in a month. And without further ado,
Chill!